Oh my gosh. Hey guys, we are back again. I am so excited to be bringing to you yet another amazing woman, expert, breastfeeding aficionado, of course. As you have seen all along, we have had some really awesome and amazing individuals. I have been extremely blessed to have the opportunity for World Breastfeeding Week as well as World Breastfeeding Month to have so many individuals that are so knowledgeable, that are moms, that have been raising and feeding children in the way that they've seen best, educate us and share with us just about their lives, about their experiences. And I tell you, I have truly been encouraged and fulfilled by all of the information that we've been learning. So, today, without fail, of course, I bring you yet another amazing woman, queen, goddess, just another awesome mom that is out here ready to share more information with us. I am so excited today to bring to you Miss Abby Theuring. Now, let me tell you something about her. I met her on Instagram watching her live her best life. Okay. This woman right here is going to surprise you. Now, I haven't had anybody yet that does and has done what she has done. So, let me introduce you and say to you, Abby, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to share what everybody wants to know.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to the world of breastfeeding, please.
Yeah, that's a story. I was a social worker. I worked at a residential treatment facility for teenagers who were in the child welfare system. And
Mm,
I worked for 15 years, was, a very passionate social worker, and I got pregnant. And the plan was that I would take off, take maternity leave, and then I would return back to work. And I also worked with kids, so I felt way prepared for
right.
parenting. I was like, I know this is going to be easy. I know all about kids. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
got this. And, I gave birth, which was a traumatic experience. And then they handed me a baby. And I was like,
Right.
well, I don't know what, I don't know what to do with this little thing. And I knew that I wanted to breastfeed. I
Hmm.
had never seen anyone breastfeed ever in my life. The first
Wow.
person that I'd ever seen breastfeed was myself. And I knew that I wanted to breastfeed. I felt really passionate about that. I can't tell you why. I don't really know why. Like I said, I hadn't seen it. I didn't really know much about it. It felt like something that I wanted to do. And when I was in the hospital, they were like, oh, it started in with you're not making enough milk. Your
Mm,
baby is crying because they're hungry. You really need to give them formula. Your baby is starving. Your body's not making milk the way it's supposed to, and all of these things.
mm-hmm.
So, of course, I gave my baby formula because I'm not going to starve my baby like they were telling me was happening.
Right. Right.
Like, who does that? So,
Right. Who does that? Really?
so I'm like, okay, well, this isn't what I want, but oh my God, I had no idea that my body wasn't going to work and that my baby would come out starving. Like, wow. So, they're like, don't worry about it, just formula feed, and, your milk will come in, no big deal. Well, we all know that that's not true. You can't just give your baby formula and have them not really be nursing and then have everything work out. You don't build a supply that way and all of that. So I spent probably a couple of months up panicking, wondering what was going on, Googling, lots of Googling, how do I breastfeed? How do I?
Okay,
And
so Abby, I have been studying to become a lactation consultant,
uh-huh.
right? And so actually the portion that I've just been going through talks about how much it changes the baby's GI tract and
Uh-huh.
gut when you give even a little bit of formula. Like they see the change 6 months out from
Yep.
the baby having that and how important like that first hour after you have the baby is for your body to know that, oh, I need to make milk. Like that was the wildest thing to me, that like the receptors are open right then and are waiting for you to say, yes, make milk. And that's how your body knows how much milk to even begin making. Like, I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And like you said, every minute counts. You know, like it doesn't matter if it's, you know, 10 milliliters of breast milk or 50 milliliters. Like it's any type of something that is not that colostrum. It is not that breast milk in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I'm panicking. I had never heard of a lactation consultant. I had never heard of any of these things. Through Googling, I found out about a thing called a lactation consultant and the thing called the Latched League. And I could just picked up this phone and I called this lady who I'm still connected with today. And she was like, she was like, okay, it's okay. You know, this happens all the time and we're going to get through it. And she helped me like, titrate down the, wean off the formula and exclusively breastfeed. And so I was like feeling like $1 million and we were, I was like, my job is like, so are you coming back? I was like, nah, I'm not coming back. I can't even wrap my head around that right now. Like I cannot deal with that. And so my husband was like, okay, we'll just work it out. You'll just quit your job for now and, whatever. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah. And like, yeah. So then I was just exclusively breastfeeding. And then, so the badass breastfeeder becomes a thing when I was in the park one day and I'm feeling, cool. And I'm exclusively breastfeeding and I feel really good. And I handed my phone to my friend and I said, take a picture of me. And she was like, okay. So she took a picture of me and I posted it in a mom's group on Facebook. The ground opened up and swallowed everything. People freaked out. That's disgusting. Why did you post that in here? Why would you do that? You should have a nursing cover on. This. And of course, there were other people that were arguing for me. And it's just, I had no idea that this explosive thing was about to happen. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to start a blog and a Facebook page, and I'm going to post nothing but breastfeeding photos on it. I'm going to like flood people's news feeds with breastfeeding. And so I that's what I did. And then people responded to it and here we are.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know. It was really crazy.
I love that though. It gives a safe space. And that's what I love is it's not about the fact that of even how, right? But the fact that just it's okay. It's okay to do that. And I think a lot of moms, and part of what I was studying too in the beginning when talking about like the history of breastfeeding in this nation and things like that, how what they were seeing through some of the WIC offices, which is women, infant, and children offices, is that the people who were breastfeeding the longest were people who were not natively from this colonization of this country,
right?
And who were speaking their native languages, meaning they were bringing it from their culture and things they had seen, right? Like you were saying, you hadn't really seen anybody do that. And I'm coming across more and more moms that were saying they'd never really seen anyone doing it, which is why I think you posting pictures of people nursing is so important, because we need to see that that's okay, that it's really all right to nurse your baby. There's nothing wrong with it. And I feel like we've gone through a generation of individuals who really felt like breast milk wasn't best, that it wasn't going to be enough to feed their baby, but that's so far from the truth. Right. Breast milk is ridiculously amazing. And the more I learn about it, the more I'm blown back and I'm shocked. I am literally shocked over the components of protein, the way that it influences our body, the way that it influences how we think, just the act of sucking and nursing and how it develops the joints and the muscles. Like every new piece of information I learn, I fall more in love with the fact that we are able to care for and nurse our babies. And I just learned and came through the fact that this is kind of the first real time, and segment in our nation where women have more so been showing the thought that there's some type of milk drought. And there really isn't a milk drought. Like we can feed our babies. Like we have enough. we are enough, and the things that we do as we traverse, like different people have different issues. Like I've dealt with issues with my third child by birth, right? He was a high risk baby, he was a preemie, and so there were some issues there, some major issues when it came to nursing, making sure that he had enough calories, making sure that he had
Right.
enough. But the crazy part is, girl, he's fine. Like there wasn't that real emergent need for us to be so scared about the breast milk, because they were so quick to say he's gonna have formula. He's gonna, and even with some of my other kids, they were like, oh, wait a minute, go get the formula. I think you probably really should be supplementing. And I'm like, no, I'm so glad that I'm educated at this point enough to be able to say, I can do this. They're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Let's all just work together,
Yeah, and I think that we're finding even those situations with preemies and high-risk babies that breast milk is even more important.
Oh, yes.
To developing the organs and to just developing properly.
Yeah, the crazy part is one of the studies I came across is that for those that have kidney transplants, which was wild to me because my son has had a kidney transplant. So I was like, of all the studies in the world for y'all to bring up and talk right now, this hits my heart, right? Is that siblings who gave each other a transplant, like if you had one that needed a kidney and another sibling gave it and they were breastfed, the kidneys actually lasted longer. The transplanted kidneys actually lasted longer.
Wow.
I'm like, of all the data in the world to share with me, what? Breastfeeding matters all the way through to something as integral as donating an organ.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it goes to show how far away from breastfeeding we've come and how close we became to breastfeeding even being eradicated. That we don't know these things, that we actually thought that you could grow a baby in your body, that you could birth that baby, and the milk that your body was making for that baby wouldn't be the best thing. Like how incredible of a time we are living in where we just don't know that, where we don't believe that.
Yeah.
It's scary, and it's well,
you matter.
It's a lot of things.
Yeah, you matter. And that's the thing. I think a lot of moms, like, it's almost as if we're separated from the fact that of everything you just said, the fact that we literally grew, these babies grew inside of us, and you didn't have just one baby, girl, you had two babies,
right?
like the fact that we're able to do that, to provide so much nourishment for them, to come from an embryo all the way to a fully developed baby, a birth baby, whether fully developed or not, right? Because my son still had some growing to do, but a baby, you birth a baby, sweetheart, you be encouraged to feed that baby.
Right.
Whether you have to pump, use an S&S, breastfeed, feed the baby.
Right. Your milk is enough. Your milk is the best thing for that baby.
Yeah.
No matter what the corporations are saying.
Yeah.
No matter what the marketing is saying.
I was about to say, what would you say is your struggle? A lot of times, because for us, we love working with moms. We love supporting moms, providing a safe space for them to know that nursing is amazing, that they are amazing, that they could do this awesome thing. Like, this to me is a privilege to be able to nurse. Doesn't feel like that all the time.
No,
let's keep it real. Let's just keep it real.
Yeah.
But it's an honor and a privilege to be able to birth these babies and then be able to nurse them. My gosh, I think that's awesome. But sometimes with what we do, there's challenges. So what would you say is your largest challenge when it comes to helping moms in this safe space?
The biggest challenge, I would say, is the amount of misinformation that is out there. There is so much terrible information. As we have come to know, lactation is not a part of medical curriculum. We have become, so there's so many pieces to this. So we have come, as a society, we have become so disconnected from each other. We do not live the way that people used to live in villages and tribal settings where there was elders that would pass down information. We don't have that anymore. We have our single family homes, or our, I mean, I don't live in a single family home, but I mean, we have our isolated, our units, our little family units. And then we have our doctor that we go to for all of our information. And doctors are not trained in lactation unless they have, outside of medical school, sought that information out. So we say, oh, well, what about, what do I do about this? Or, my baby's not gaining the weight that you're telling me that the baby's supposed to be gaining, or all these questions that we have. And the doctors are going off of, things that they've heard, their opinions, because they're not confronted with that. They're not given that information. And so I spend a lot of my time, and again, I feel like it is an honor and a privilege, as you said, it is to have a baby. It is also an honor and a privilege for me to be able to help people, to be able to have the information to help people. But it is also so infuriating to me to answer messages all day like, my doctor told me that, my baby's 6 months now and that my milk doesn't have enough fat in it. Or my doctor told me that I'm supposed to breastfeed every 3 hours. And if I breastfeed more, then I'm going to overfeed my baby. And I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot. And these are not freak, situations. This is what I deal with all day, every day. It's why we started this podcast that we do. It's why I do what I do, because it is out there everywhere. And there's so much bad information that, people are so confused, and people are quitting. People are, they're being set up. I mean, I was set up from day one to fail. You know what I mean? You come out and it's like, here, your baby is starving. First of all, my 1-day-old baby was not starving. I did not feel like crap for the last 3 months. That baby did not suck me dry of every last ounce of my energy just to come out hungry. That baby was not hungry.
Okay, so 2 things. Yes, Amy. Abby, listen. Oh my gosh. Okay, so 2 things. One, I'm excited because I've had the opportunity to see some doctors on rotation, like with lactation consultants that I've worked with. And I'm like sitting in on the groups that we've had. And I'm always like, 2 thumbs up. Yes, thank you for being here. Girl, I have tears in my eyes right now, Abby. Thank you for being here. But at the same time, woo-wee, right? I'm also learning, girl, I am also learning that when babies are even coming out now, because with us who are not giving birth at home or in birthing centers, oftentimes we are receiving IVs, right? And so you are not only getting the IV, but all that extra fluid is going to your
the
little
baby.
person. So then when they're all freaked out because they're losing all this weight in the first 24 hours, we're finding that, if you really think about it, all the fluids you just got, they're receiving some of that. So really, are they losing body weight, or are they just getting rid of the water that was added, or the saline, or however you want to, that was added to them while you were in labor?
Right. Absolutely.
Dude, that's been a part of my study too. And I'm like, I never thought about it.
And then they come in, and then the doctors come in and go, oh my God, the baby lost so much weight. You need to start supplementing. Oh my God, wait a minute.
And you're like, I won't kill my baby. I won't kill my baby.
And that's why it is so shameful to me, because there is nothing there. New parents holding a new baby are the most vulnerable people, and we are just open to anything that you're going to tell us. If you're telling me this is going to hurt my baby, I am going to do whatever it is that you tell me to do. They have absolute and total power over us. And there's entities that know that and that profit off of that. And, it just, that's.
Well, I mean, that's the same reason why we had to have the laws come out, where the World Health Organization had to step in and say, no, there are guidelines to how you're going to advertise, what you're going to say, how you're going to put this information out here. Because it was in my opinion, now it might not have been defined as this, but it felt like a genocide. Like they would go into certain portions of the world and promote, and then you had the mothers again walking away feeling like, oh, this is the best. This is what I need to do for my baby. Right. This is the best. But then not having the supplies and not having like the clean water to fulfill what was needed to make the formula. So then you have all these babies. There's no mom milk, right? Because they've dried up. It's been long enough for them to dry up. And the babies, what are you giving them? Either dirty water, or it's mixed like in a way that is not going to be helpful for them,
or watered
maybe
down
not formulate. Yeah, and it's like, come on, that we actually have to have entities step in.
It's totally evil. But they did step in the United States. In our country, we do not follow the WHO code. There are WHO code violators all over the place. And there are countries that absolutely do follow it, and they have better breastfeeding rates. And our country completely ignores it. You know, there's you know, all of the marketing and all of that is totally not, they continue the marketing here.
Yeah, I will say for our baby friendly hospitals, I've been seeing them do way better. And I love, like, I've watched, but even behind the scenes, like while they're, you know, formulating things and working on things, they are like down to the nitty gritty. I mean, like sentence lines where they're like, no, this has to come out. Yeah. This is not. And speaking directly to what you were saying about timing, like what? No. When the baby is hungry, you feed the baby. Like babies eat on demand. Let the babies eat. Let them eat. You know, so
keep them at the breast. Just keep them there. But the baby friendly hospital initiative is great. A lot of the corporations, though, you know, the formula corporations, all of these, they don't care. You know, they continue with the marketing of just, you need this. Your breast milk is not enough. Our milk is just as good. And people, of course, believe it. And then we have all of these cultural beliefs about breastfeeding, about how it's for, you know, third world countries or poor countries, and how, you know, well, no, we're a wealthy country. We're not going to do that. We're going to buy the formula, and all of these things that are so, you know, that have come down from 100 years ago.
Yeah. And that's exactly what they were saying, is that a lot of the moms who were moving here, transitioning here from other countries, when they were first here, like their first baby, they breastfed for a long period of time. But then their second baby, they would ask for formula. Yeah. Right. And it was because they said that's what they saw, and they wanted to be like the moms that were around them here in the States. Right. Yeah. Because they saw it more. It was more prevalent. There were less safe spaces like what you've created for us to be able to see. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with breastfeeding. Nothing wrong with it. Right. Yeah. So thank you, Abby. Thank you for showing us that. Thank you for providing us with a safer space to be like, I'm all right. Like, I'm good. Me and my little person are all right. This is a good thing.
Yeah, you're not doing anything wrong. You've been given terrible information. And if we can get the information straightened out, get you the support that you need, then we can work through the problems and you can be on your way. Yeah. You know, and that's obviously, this conversation is so nuanced because we have different groups of people that have different barriers and a different history, you know, that come with that. So, you know.
Yeah, it's different levels of struggle for different people, right? But I think the more that we come together as a community and help one another, the better we can do. Like, one of my all-time favorite things ever was with my first child. I was able to go to a breastfeeding group. Yeah. And I was able to sit there with other mothers and hear the questions that they had. I wasn't the only mom having that same question. Yeah. I was able to hear moms talk about how they breastfed, what they did, you know, why they did it. Oh, sit like this. Oh, do like this. Oh, why don't you try this? And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Or I would share something and there would be a mom that would say, oh, wow. Okay, I'll try that. It made all the difference. To this day, I can still think of how it felt to be there, to be with another mom, you know, that was experiencing the same thing I was experiencing. So I always encourage moms, find a group like you were talking about, like the Latched League.
Yeah.
Find a group somewhere near you. Right now, there's so many virtual groups that are happening where you can at least call in and hear what other moms are saying. Some are video virtual, but a lot of them are, are call-in groups. Girl, call in. Share how you feel. You are not in this alone. Abby, we've been there, haven't we?
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I'll say kudos to you and 2 snaps, Abby. You still haven't said what you have done, honey, with the tandem. I'm still and I'm like, Abby.
I know. Yeah. When I had my first son, and that birthing experience was traumatic, and it was unfortunately very common too. I didn't have this outrageous thing happen to me. It's American birth, right? Can be very traumatic. It was, I was induced at 41 weeks for no reason. Just, they were like sick of me. They're like, all right, we got to just get this baby out of here so we can move on to, we got to move on to these other people. So, I was induced, and then of course, one intervention leads to another intervention. And then I had an episiotomy, and I had all of these things. And, it was just a very, very bad experience. So I was breastfeeding was very healing. And I went through, I started this community, and people were sharing more and more pictures with me because they wanted, to be featured on the page. So I'm coming into contact with all these incredible photos of people. And there was this one woman, I'll never forget the photo, and I keep forgetting her name. She's in the community. She was in a birthing tub, and she had just given birth, and her older toddler was nursing as well in the birthing tub. And I was so blown away by this photo that I wanted to have a home birth, and I wanted a tandem nurse because of this photo.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, we're going to have another baby because I want to have a home birth and I want to tandem nurse. And we were going to have another baby anyway. But, so I looked into home birth here in Chicago, got connected with some home birth midwives and a doula. I learned what midwives were. I learned what doulas were. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. There actually are so many options. I had no idea that I had all these birthing options and support people out there. So I filled my life with these people, and I gave birth, and it was wonderful. And it was in my living room upstairs. And I had this baby, and I remember sitting on the bed with my new baby, and I was looking at my older child who was like freaked out. He was just like, who is that? And when is he going away? And I was like, come on, do you want a nurse? And he's just like, I don't want to be in this room right now. And I was like, oh no, what if he doesn't nurse? And I nursed through pregnancy, which was, nursing through pregnancy is not fun, because you're going through all those hormonal changes, and your breasts are so painful. But I was so anxious for him to keep breastfeeding because I just wanted to tandem nurse so much. So then, of course, I was making myself anxious about that. But whatever, he finally nursed, and we tandem nursed, and it wasn't the beautiful, breastfeeding on a cloud or in the meadows that I thought it was going to be. It was really, really hard. But we did it. I did it for 3.5 years. My oldest was 6.5 when he weaned, and my youngest was like 5. So we breastfed for a really long time like that. And it's cool. It is like something I'm very proud of that I did.
It's very cool.
Yeah. It was, and it was very, very hard. I don't want to make it sound like it was, a breeze, or that it was, I think that the photos are so wonderful, but I think sometimes we post photos that are like our most beautiful moments, or our most, it's just not just with breastfeeding, like with anything. Social media is like the highlight reel of our life, right?
Right.
So we look at these photos and we're just like, oh my God, how does she make it look so easy? And how does she, how do they, make it seem like it's so peaceful, when I'm over here totally miserable. So, it wasn't perfect, but it was,
right.
Something special, very special. And I also think it really helped my older son transition to having a new brother, because then he was still able to connect with me in the way that was familiar to him. And he could see his brother connecting in a way that he understood.
Yeah.
And they could literally just sit at my breast and look at each other and just be like, who, he got to just be like, who is this guy? Still to this day, he's like, who's this guy? When's he going back?
Girl, now when is he going back?
Yeah, I was like, he's not going anywhere.
He's not. He's here. He's
here to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, no exchanges.
No.
Like, okay, that is so cool. So, with all of the wild, wonderful world of breastfeeding that you've experienced, what would you say? Because you've given us, I mean, highs, lows, in betweens. You've walked us through the valleys. You've gone through a lot of different things. Okay, so what would be one thing you would say is just your absolute joy? So we know us working with moms and sharing information with them is amazing for us. With you for breastfeeding, what would you say is just like the pinnacle of breastfeeding, whichever child, but just in your life, what would you say was your favorite thing about it?
I think it was just the bonding, the type of relationship that you have with a breastfed child. And there are people that choose not to breastfeed and that bottle feed, and they have just as strong of a bond with their child. So it's not about, this bond is better or, anything like that. But it's like, it's a special, a unique kind of bond that you have that nobody else can do. Another lactating person could breastfeed, sure, but it's not the, it's not you. These are your children and you're nursing them and they're drinking milk from your body. Like I think it's that type of relationship that I'm still very in awe of. And I think that that's something that people really, that's why they want to breastfeed. Of course, they want their child to have the healthiest milk. They want to feel empowered. They want all of these things, but it's that type of relationship, I think, that and nourishing and, having that physical bodily connection that you can have with breastfeeding, that is what motivates people.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to agree with you. That's something that I absolutely love about breastfeeding. It's just that bond. When I get to stare in my child's face while they're nursing, I have this one picture, and I'm going to send you a picture of me nursing one of my little ones. But I have a picture of my baby, and she sits there and she looks at me and she has milk running down her face. I love that. Just to know that they're nourished, they're fulfilled, they're full, they're happy. Oh, when they pass out, that milky smile when they're done, when they're full and they're gone and they're just knocked out in your arms and you pass out too. Like, that's the best. Those moments are the best moments. Woo! So we are so excited just to bring the thought of that to you and to encourage you and say, if you haven't experienced that or it's something that you want to, please do. It not only supports you and your family, but also the environment, like the amount of water that's saved. Oh my gosh. When we choose to breastfeed, even for a little bit of time, like the environmental impact is amazing for each individual that decides to do that. And as we've said before, we save on the amount of packaging, on the amount of manpower, on the amount of gas that's used in travel to get it from one place to the next. Like, all of that is saved. We've reduced all of that and reused our food at the same time because they're getting a little bit of nourishment of what we've taken in, right? So, Abby, before we head out today, what would be one thing that you would like to leave every person that hears this with?
I would say that it sounds kind of cliche, but don't quit on a bad day. So, we are going to have bad days and you're going to be confronted with a lot of terrible information, especially getting started, because you can do all the prep work and you should do all of the prep work. You should find a lactation consultant before you have your baby, try to be as prepared as possible. You should, do all the reading, try to follow breastfeeding bloggers or whatever, and try to just get familiar with it. But what was I saying? I totally forgot what I said. Don't quit on a bad day. You should,
Yep.
you're going to be confronted with all of this terrible information. And like I said, you're going to do the prep work. But when you get going, it's going to be hard. Breastfeeding is really, really hard. Breastfeeding is natural, but it doesn't come naturally all the time. It's you have to learn, and your baby's learning too. So, even when you're having those really terrible days, when you're feeling like, I don't want to do this, I can't take this, I don't know what to do, everything is going wrong, reach out to somebody, and don't make the decision to quit right when it feels the worst. Because there are, especially addressed early, 99% of the problems that you run into can be fixed with some help. So I would say, don't quit on a bad day.
That's so good. That's a great note. Thanks, Abby. Don't quit on a bad day. I love that. It's the truth. There's so much that we've learned over the years. There's so much that's been passed down. Because like you were saying earlier, man, having that circle of friends and that family that you can talk to and work with, it's nothing like it. And if you don't have that, you can build that. You can have that. There are ready-made groups like the Latched League, or even many of the hospitals have call-in groups where they have lactation groups that you can just come and talk. Mommy baby groups. Yeah. Google it. There's one in your area most likely. And at this point, if not, girl, join one anywhere. Like, we are connecting so much. Yeah. So just make and build your network and your community, your tribe of people to help you and support you during this time. You're not alone. We're here for you, right? Reach out. You can talk to either one of us and find out information. As you guys know, I have the book Purpose in Pain, where I had an opportunity to share the story and the trials that we went through having our high-risk NICU baby, right? Neonatal intensive care unit child, right? And so in here we have 6 stories of families who were able to come together, share their story. Why? To encourage you. No matter what situation you're in, whether breastfeeding comes easy for you, whether it's hard for you, whether you need to use different things like a nipple shield, right? Or some other apparatus to help you be able to nurse your baby, look, you're still doing it. You're still giving your baby what's best for them. And we're encouraging you to continue forward and know you're not alone. Don't stop just because it's a bad day. Keep pushing forward. We're here for you, right, Abby?
Absolutely.
So listen,
yeah, you can
reach out for us on social media. Abby, how can they find you?
Well, it's the Badass Breastfeeder on Instagram. It's the Badass Breastfeeder on Facebook. It's the badassbreastfeeder.com. And it's also badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, where you can find the podcast that I do with a lactation consultant named Diane Cassidy, who I think is also somebody you're going to be interviewing.
Yes, you get to hear from her too. I told you, 4 amazing people are on their way. Thank you so much, Abby, for joining us today. I mean, this whole series would not have been the same without you, and we appreciate all the work that you've done and put into educating us as moms and letting us know that we have a safe space and get a chance to see other moms doing the exact same thing, working hard and loving these little people, breastfeeding them each day.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
So welcome you are. And we invite you to come back anytime you would like to. The door is open. Awesome. Thanks so much, Abby. And we will talk with you next time. Bye, guys.